What's up, gang, and welcome back to another edition of Road Trippin' with the Rudes.
Hi guys, and if this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and like this video as we will have more rude real reviews coming your way.
That's right. And today we'll be doing a real review of Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King, which I'm not too familiar with his work. He did Newlyweds and Malignans. I didn't see those movies, but
I'm definitely curious now.
I'm curious, and he did an excellent job with this particular movie.
Now, this will be full on spoilers. If this is your first time tuning into a real review, we do not discuss anything ahead of time. We wait until we're here with you to talk about the movie. Full disclosure though, normally we film immediately after we watch the movie. This one we had to sit with overnight.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep actually, and I know a fair bit about Fred Hampton just because I think he's such a dynamic person and such a bright light in American history. But there were just so many layers.
Yeah. I mean, he was a poet, didn't even know it.
Well, yeah.
like me. You see that how I did that?
Listen, guys, you have Fred Hampton played by Daniel Kaluuya, which we know from Wakanda, right? We know him from Black Panther. We know him from Get Out.
I'm glad you said that. First, before you go any further, has he earned your respect back after Black Panther?
Yes. I was very upset with him and the entire tribe. And in fact, I didn't wear my shawl for quite some time following. I was just my petty runs deep. So you had him as Fred Hampton.
Yep.
Then you have Dominique Fishback, who plays, at the time she was named Deborah. So it was his fiance Deborah, and
Miss Debbie Johnson.
Deborah Johnson. And let me just say, the first time that we saw Dominique Fishback was on Project Power, which is on Netflix, and she plays alongside Jamie Foxx, which great movie, highly recommend that.
So I didn't know that she was in this movie, but when I watched Project Power, I'm like, she's going to be in some movies here because she was good in that movie.
Listen, Dominique Fishback, take down her name. She's absolutely one to watch. Then you have Lakeith Stanfield, who is playing the role of William O'Neill, and he is from the series Atlanta.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. With Daniel Glover.
Donnie.
With Donnie Glover. Amazing. So let's set this up.
Okay.
You start off, God, it's so hard. Before we even get started into this, the actors were amazing. The one thing I would say is that the actors are so amazing and so accomplished that you forget how young these people were in real life. So
even when you see old videos of him speaking, you just assume he's late 20s, early 30s at the oldest.
Right. The FBI started watching him, I think, when he was like 18.
Yeah. Something like that.
So you have Fred Hampton, who throughout this movie is between the ages of 18 and 21. You have Deborah, who is between the ages of 18 and 19.
Yeah.
And you have William O'Neill, who is between the ages of 17 and 1920.
Yeah.
Okay,
he was a year younger than Fred Hampton.
Yes, I think it's very important to keep that in mind.
Yep.
So the movie starts with somebody in like a sketchy, like Inspector Gadget type getup, right?
Yeah.
Who's about to roll into a bar that clearly says it's closed. This takes place in Chicago. And In the late 60s, he rolls up, FBI, I need to secure your vehicle. It's stolen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's buying it, right? So they kind of chase him out, but he secures the keys.
Yeah, he got the keys from before they figured him out.
Before they figured him out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you have fallen for a 17-year-old in a trench coat with FBI badge?
Nah.
Right?
Not at all.
But
I feel like, and he says it later, so after he steals the car, because before I don't want to, I want to get it lead up to it. He steals the car, they're chasing him, and he gets him off of him, whatever. He gets down the road and the cops pull him over. They have him in the interrogation room, and the FBI agent asks him, why did he have that badge? And he told him, where I'm from, that badge is scarier than a gun.
Yep. That's true.
Maybe I would have, for a second, hesitated. You know what I mean? But
yeah. And I don't know at this time.
At that point, it's just him and us. For real, for real.
Well, and here's the thing, too. So at this time, you're in the 60s. I don't know what J. Edgar Hoover's recruiting methods were for FBI agents.
Well, you knew he was racist.
Well, I knew he was racist.
So how many black FBI agents you going to have on the ground?
I think, proof positive, he had a ton.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So, I don't know what the requirements were, what the age requirements were, what the screening process was like.
He had more snitches than agents, though.
Yes.
They weren't agents. He wouldn't give them that title.
Yeah. He had informants. So, he gets pulled over. As Corey said, he ends up in an interrogation room with the FBI. And the FBI person who is interrogating him, which by himself, without any parental... Like, so, as I'm watching the movie, I'm absolutely in the moment. And as I stepped away from the movie, I'm absolutely a mom.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm like, imagine, Ava is 17.
I didn't even think that way. You're right.
Ava is 17. Imagine an FBI agent by themselves, right? There weren't two. An FBI agent by themselves detaining your child, questioning your child without legal representation, and then threatening your child.
Yeah, you're right.
And of course, guys, you already know I'm here with the notes. So Roy Mitchell, who was the agent, said, listen, you're facing something like 18 months for stealing a car and up to 5 years for impersonating an FBI agent.
Yeah. Or
you can go home. So, at that moment, I got Central Park 5 vibes.
I mean, not even Central Park 5. That's just life being black, low key.
Yeah.
Not even low key, high key.
Yeah, but it was just, there were so many, this movie was an amazing movie. I think everyone needs to watch it. It is very necessary. The hunter is always the victor until the lion has the pen, right? So the fact that this was produced by people that were able to connect with Fred Hampton in a different way, and, acknowledge the racism that is weaved into our history, and by American history, I think was very important. So, I say everyone needs to watch it. And also understand that nothing has changed from the standpoint of the treatment of black children.
Right. That was the major takeaway point for me. Like, nothing's really changed. So that was the late 60s, early 70s.
Yes.
And they still doing the same stuff. They got a little more tricky. They got a little technology with it now. You know what I mean? Some of these guys is telling on themselves on Facebook.
Yeah.
For real though.
But I will say this. So you've got a 17-year-old. You've got a 17-year-old who just stole the car, and the conversation is, you can go home. Okay, what do I need to do to go home? Right, of course. Hey, can you just keep an eye on Chairman Fred Hampton? And by chairman, he was in charge of the Black Panther Chicago, the Black Panther Illinois branch. So he was the chairman of the entire state. The Black Panther Party had started originally in California, and the objective was for the protection of a people
Oakland,
that were
California.
being oppressed.
Yeah.
So that happened all over the country, right? So you have Fred Hampton, whose mother babysat Emmett Till.
Yeah, didn't that blow your mind when you heard that? That was
so.
Wow.
His mother babysat Emmett Till, and he said that they did not go to the funeral. It would have been too much, but he remembers where he was when he first saw
seen
the picture.
Yeah,
and it gave me Lovecraft Country vibes.
Oh yeah.
Lovecraft Country did a great job of really capturing what the feeling or the emotions were in Chicago during that time. So Emmett Till was a defining moment for him. Understand this. Emmett Till was a defining moment for Muhammad Ali. He saw himself in Emmett Till. Emmett Till was a defining moment. I think any person, any black person, could tell you where they were when they first saw that picture.
Right.
I remember vividly. And I've always carried that with me.
Right.
So anyway, so he is electrifying. Right?
Yeah.
So he wants to give back to his community. He connects with Black Panthers, quickly rises to top rank, and he is the chairman. So he is promoting and securing breakfast programs. He's focusing on a clinic. He is focusing on, just really establishing some level of independence from the establishment.
And you know what? I understand that, it started right as he was already. It's really the story told from William O'Neill's side, right? But I wish we could have went a little more in depth into Fred Hampton's upbringing, like as a child. You know what I mean? Because he's a deep character. He's a deep guy.
Very much so, a deep soul.
So I would have just liked to see a little more backstory on Fred, but I understand it probably isn't any resources available anymore that could even tell you.
I don't
what his
know.
youth was like. You know what I mean?
And I've said this before. And it might have been our Black is King review, and we'll leave that video. But it is something as a mother, you have to have or at least I have those conversations with myself of, could I be so brave? Right? So I can't imagine the angst of the mother of Fred Hampton. Yeah. Right? You've got this shining star. They did say, and this wasn't in the movie, but these are, just facts and archive things that I, remember looking up on. When he was in high school, he would speak out for injustice. He had a walkout. So activism was just in his blood. Right? I think about Emmett Till's mother, Mamie, like how she had the courage to have the casket left open. I think about Ruby Bridges' mother. I don't know if at 5 years old I could allow Ella to walk through that crowd. So I say that to say, you know me. Comment down below if you know if there's interviews with his mother. But I don't know if I could interview after my baby was murdered. Yeah. And it was orchestrated on a level that's like...
It's one of those things, too. I mean, I've been a teenage male. You know what I'm saying? And you think you're invincible. You don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm sure it was part of that. That was part of it. And moms definitely was probably telling them. But...
So here's the thing. So, I think... we can very much say by watching this movie, you will see that the same things are occurring. But let's go back to even before Fred Hampton and, how the African mothers, as they were brought over, how they were conditioned. Okay. Right? So even in Ghana, before even being, sent off, they would take the strongest male. Hey, you know what? Bring his wife. Put his children in front of them and, tie him to, 2 horses. And they would have that mother watch her husband, her partner get split in half, right? You see that about your partner, you will make sure that your child doesn't speak up. So, how are you going to raise your child? And that brings me back to the interview room with the FBI agent with William O'Neill, right? One things that he asked him is, how did you feel about the MLK assassination? How did you feel about Malcolm X?
Yeah.
And when you said invincible, as a 17-year-old invincible kid, you're like, And that was the thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so then...
Yeah, he feels no type of way
Roy
about
knows,
this.
Okay, so he feels no type of way about this. And I don't know if it was from his mother trying to shelter him from it. Who knows? But I do know that is a trauma that has been passed down and carried on. That instilling that fear. That fear was also instilled as far as the men being hopeless or helpless. That helplessness of the African man, they would bring a woman out in the middle of a square and rape her. And you could do nothing because you knew you were going to die. Right? So, I feel like William O'Neill had that fear where Fred Hampton had that anger.
Yeah.
So it's a tale of two black men.
It's the tale of, are you willing to die for what you believe in?
You have to believe in something. And so Fred did. Fred was electrifying. So he was speaking, and there was a young lady, a girl, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. She was a girl, There was a young lady who was in the audience, and she asked him if he liked poetry. And he was dismissive, like, I'm focused on the cause. And he's like, laser vision focused on the cause. And that was Deborah.
Yeah.
They were together ever since. And Deborah...
She came and worked for him.
So Deborah... they see each other. She says that. Then the next day he goes into the headquarters, the Black Panther headquarters for Illinois. And he sees her there working. And she says, well, I understand that you need a speechwriter. And there she was. So she was the poetry in his life. She definitely was that yang to his yang. Right?
Yeah.
He was so serious, and understandably so. And he... was another person that moved like he was running out of time. Right? Yeah. I think he was very aware of his purpose and that his time was very limited.
Got it.
This person that we're talking about is 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. Did you think your time was limited at 20 years old? No. So such a visionary, right? He's welcoming to anyone, right? And you know what they say, your skin folk aren't always your kinfolk.
Facts.
He welcomes William O'Neill. William O'Neill goes with him to meet with a Chicago gang, right? So this is William O'Neill had some brushes with a lot of brushes.
Close calls,
some definite close calls. So they were called the Crowns, and they were a Chicago gang.
Yeah.
And Fred Hampton goes in because he wants to communicate with them about unifying. And they got brazen, like, yo, we're the ones that made sure that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was safe while he was here in Chicago. And Fred saying, I don't have any beef with you. Imagine if we were together. William sees someone kind of like charging for Fred and like comes to his defense. So he becomes Wild Bill.
Hold on, you skipped a part. The reason for the animosity was the pamphlet that the FBI put out.
No, that wasn't until later.
I thought that was
that
that
was
same
then?
scene.
No.
That's what happened.
No, not at the club. No, not at the club.
This ain't the church scene?
No, this is at the club.
Okay,
right?
my bad.
Where Fred wants to leave a message with the leader, for the leader of the Crowns, and Bill rolls up with the pool stick, like, back up, you know?
You're right, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, Fred is very smart and very, very much so a visionary. He knows that there are more people that are struggling in these United States than there are more doing well, right? He's not looking for reform. According to Fred, reform is just a way to keep slaves calm, right?
Yeah.
It's just a way of reconditioning slaves. He's looking for complete change, complete revolution.
Yeah, revolution.
Right? So he, during this time, O'Neill is being groomed, right? And I'm saying groomed in a way that you would say, you know, a pedophile is grooming a child.
Okay.
Like, very much so. This mental process for a 17-year-old who's not mentally strong, the FBI agent is allowing Bill O'Neill to come to his house, spend time, and in a post-interview, Bill or William O'Neill says, you know, people had their role models. Mm-hmm. And at the time they had Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they had Malcolm X. I had Roy. And how was that for you? Was that jarring for you?
Yeah, that was terrible.
I think representation matters. And you've got to think about it. At this time in the 60s, he probably to some degree watched John Wayne.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He watched all the propaganda movies about the G-men. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to step back and look at it as a 17-year-old or an impressionable, you know, mind. If Tony Stark took somebody under his wing, Spider-Man, right? It's like, yeah, I'd go along with it. So Roy groomed him. And Roy was getting pressure from J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover was very much involved with this because J. Edgar Hoover said the most dangerous thing in the United States would be the rise of a black messiah. So J. Edgar Hoover very much was involved in eradicating any type of black pride. Mm-hmm. So Roy's like, well, what do you need? And he said, well, you know, Fred doesn't drive around anymore. The, you know, cops harass him. Everybody bothers him. You give me a car and I can drive him around. So he knew that Bill was a stand-up guy in his mind. In Fred's mind, Bill's a stand-up guy because he stood in front of the Crowns for me.
Yeah.
He takes him with him on another trip. The Young Patriots. So this again is a part of Fred's vision, right? He wanted to establish a rainbow coalition. So he wanted to take all of those disenfranchised groups and unify.
Yeah.
So the Young Patriots are white. They are poor. Their education, their school systems are failing them. Their medical care is little, if any.
They walk into their church and it's a Confederate flag in the back.
Big as day. Big as day. And the leader of the Young Patriots connected with Fred. Fred is, if you haven't done so, you've got to watch some footage of Fred. He is absolutely electrifying. And I think when you're sincere, that comes across.
Well, I feel like if you put, you know, your racial differences aside.
Absolutely.
When it comes down to it, we're more alike than we are not alike.
Absolutely. So, going back to...
And Fred understood that.
Fred was very smart. And going back to that, it made me think of Beacon's Rebellion. So that was when the indentured slaves from Ireland and the slaves from Africa unified, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is where there was a really big push on making sure that that your skin was an identifier.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yes, you are an indentured slave, but you're not black. So we can't have you, the Irish, in any way affiliated with the Africans.
Yeah.
Right? So he knew to unify. So he's, Bill's with him this whole time. So he goes, he talks to the young patriots. The young patriot says, you know what? We've got your back. We are in. They attend a funeral of the young lords, which is kind of like the Latin, the Hispanic equivalent to the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
My uncle was a young lord. My father was a Black Panther, both in New York. So they unify them. He goes to his meeting with the president of the Crowns, or the leader of the gang, the Crowns. Now this gets interesting because if you remember, we said Bill O'Neill, the first scene that we see is him going into Crown's territory and stealing a car.
Yeah.
Right? So Fred goes in unarmed. He says, look, I'm not taking anything. He doesn't have any of his comrades have any arms. Throughout this whole time, though, you are seeing Fred teaching classes with the comrades to get them prepared for this. Anyway, he says, listen, we have fed over, X amount of children with our breakfast program. And, the head of the Crown says, listen, I've fed more children than General Mills. Yeah. I employ their parents, right?
Yeah.
But he can tell that he's being sincere. Now, on the sideline, one of the Crowns is looking, and they're looking at Bill like, so he goes, hey, that's the guy that stole my car. Fat.
Yeah. Did anybody tell you to talk?
One of the Crowns disciplines him and says, you don't speak, because the head of the Crown, so I think his name was Steve, was speaking. So it's like, boom, you don't get to talk, right?
Yeah.
Bill's sweating bullets. Now, one of the Black Panther comrades, and guys, bear with me, but I have my notes. Mommy brain is real. So Judy Harmon was quick on it. She noticed something was up. So Bill goes to haul out, jump in the car. Judy gets in beside him.
Yep.
And
Already had somebody in the back.
Already had somebody in the back. She said, what happened there? What was that?
Yeah.
So that was
his badge talk. That's what he said.
Right. So he says, I just used a fake badge because I was, able to get into cars. So she forced him to hotwire a car. Right. And I'm saying character, but these are real life people.
Right.
Fast forward, they arrest Fred Hampton.
Well, hold on. I want to make a point about this because they felt as though he definitely didn't belong, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to say, trust your gut.
They
should have trusted their gut, man.
I don't know. Because of what happened with Judy, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if she ever lived to know what happened to Fred.
Yeah, they went to jail, remember?
Well, let's get to that part because I have a question about that. So, Judy definitely doubted him, right? They arrest Fred. When I say trumped up charges.
On a bogus charge.
They said stolen ice cream. Right? Stolen ice cream, and they were giving him something like 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Fred's like thinking, I'll be right back, y'all. You know what I mean? That's what he was saying when they was handcuffed.
Absolutely.
I'll be right back. Because, bruh, there's no way I'm stealing some ice cream when I got plenty of money right here.
So, do you want to hear something so insane? So, it was illegal for blacks to consume vanilla ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
That was just considered the height of Americana.
Hold on. Let's rewind a little bit. Vanilla ice cream is actually black.
Well, yes, the vanilla bean is black. Absolutely. No, I agree.
They made it white to make it more,
yes.
Guess what? Palatable.
Yes.
Which is some subconscious stuff.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to be the woke one in here, you know.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
So while he's in prison, Deborah's holding down the fort. The Black Panthers are holding down the fort. They are kids, though. And he absolutely was very mature for his age. I couldn't imagine what would happen if you and I were away and left the kids to the house. Right? So,
first of all, I can't even imagine them outside of these four walls.
Right.
Without us.
Right. So you have racial tension, right? This is what happens. You have police that were shaking down old men in a store in which a Black Panther affiliate rolled up on them and saw them, and a shootout ensued. Mm-hmm. He was shot. He also shot some officers. Mm-hmm. So because of that, the Chicago PD decided to harass nonstop the Black Panther headquarters. Sounds very Philadelphia, the move to me, mm-hmm. right? Which was 20 years later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then 20 years after that, we had, Rodney King and so much other unrest. And then 20 years after that, we had George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. It just keeps going. So,
mm-hmm.
Judy says during the daytime, because she knows, right? If they don't act now, they wait until nightfall, the police are going to take them out.
Yeah.
So,
and you brought that up. Think about just last year in 2020. They're trying to make it seem like when night falls, that's when all the provocators come out, the guys that are going to destroy everything. But that's when the police turn up, for real, for
mm-hmm. real. The saddest thing is that J. Edgar Hoover, as he was speaking to Roy, the FBI handler of Bill O'Neill, he said, how's your daughter? And he said, oh, she's fine. She's getting big. Daughter was 8 months old, right?
Yeah.
And he said, what are you going to do when your daughter brings an N home? And trust me, he didn't say N. And he said, excuse me, sir, what? Mm-hmm. So even if Roy wasn't someone that thought that way, which I absolutely think he was, right? Was like, what do you mean? And he said, what are you going to do? This is what's going to happen. It's going to be hysteria, right? Very similar to what we're experiencing now, right? Mm-hmm. He said, rape, pillage, like this was what J. Edgar Hoover was basically arming his men with.
He was trying to make America great again, wasn't he?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
So you had that, and the reason why I say that is because that helped Roy put more pressure. The cops had that mindset too. And so Judy said, no, we're going out. At this time, I think Bill is like the head of security, right?
Yeah.
So she takes her rifle to the window, and Bill's supposed to be in the window next to her, and she goes, where are you going? He goes, oh, I'm going to check out the roof. He tries to run out. Somebody's there. He goes to run up to the roof because at this point he has nowhere to go. He's freaked out. Understand, in his mind, he's not an informant. He is an FBI
undercover agent.
He's an undercover agent in his mind. And I think that, again, is a part of the grooming process, right? So he goes up, and they think he's a sniper, and the police just start shooting. So you have an entire shootout. And then you have Judy and another part of the Black Panther Party who had been shot surrender and come out the building.
Let me ask you, was the shootout imminent? Whether he would have showed up on the... I feel like he caused the shootout. Or was it going to happen regardless?
This is why I think it was going to happen. Because once they got Judy and the other Black Panther out, mm-hmm. Remember, they pulled out the big can of gasoline. They had already planned on burning down this building. It was just a matter of, are you going to burn it down when we're asleep in the middle of the night and we can't escape? Or are we going to do this during the day where there are witnesses? Mm-hmm. Again, very similar to Philadelphia and the move, where there was a reporter that was in a building that the officers did not know about.
Across the street.
And they were able to properly
document
what happened. Did that change the legal outcome?
No.
You know, so many of us watched a man lose his life on camera, you know, a little less than a year ago, and nothing has happened. But I still think that, you know, that was smart of them, and she was brave. But the news report said 1 dead.
Yep.
So I wasn't sure if it was her or the guy.
No, 1 cop. I thought.
But it was 1 Panther was dead.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, you know, I've got to look it up. Comment down if you below if you know. But I worry that it was Judy. I say that to say I don't know if she even had a chance to feel guilty for not having checked Bill
later down the
road, right?
Yeah.
So while Fred is in jail, Deborah is with child. She doesn't want to stress Fred out. Fred is out on an appeal. He had great attorneys. He had a team of attorneys. They don't show it in the movie, but you know in the back end that they were like, look, the facts are what they are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they fought for that. And I think that's important. The more upstanders we have, as opposed to bystanders, the better off we'll be. So Fred comes back and time is ticking. Mm-hmm. Right? They're just pushing. They're pushing. He hasn't done anything. The community turned around and repaired the headquarters. He shortly after that. Now, meanwhile, after the shootout, Bill was done. Bill was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Over a nice steak dinner with Roy. He gets coerced to go back in. As he's coerced to go back in, what happened? Did I miss anything?
No.
He meets someone from the New Haven chapter who says that there was a rat in their midst.
And he handled
him by torturing him.
Hot water.
Boiling him.
Hot water. Mm-hmm. You know, all types of stuff. They tortured him before they threw him in the bottom of the river.
Yes. So Roy at this point is
scared.
Scared out of his... Well, Roy is scared thinking, oh my God, what if my informant know? Well, Bill, the informant, goes to Roy. Yeah. Freaks Roy out. Roy goes like, hey guys, did you hear about this?
Well, Bill's in there trying to play it off, overcompensating. Like, yeah, if I was there, those be the ones
Sign
you
one,
watch,
right?
Bro.
But the thing is that when Bill tells this to Roy speaks with other agents, and they go, yeah, the guy that is going around telling the story is our informant. So Roy says, oh, okay, so then nobody died. And they say, no, yeah, he did kill them. So not only are they grooming informants, they're weaponizing informants. Mm-hmm. No informant should kill another person and still continue to be an informant. That just doesn't make sense to me. But that just goes into the mind of how
they're justifying it though, as he killed him to keep his cover.
He killed an innocent man.
Right.
Man, probably more a child.
That's how the FBI is justifying it though, without.
So the Fred Hampton was like the first kind of COINTELPRO, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of like blew the lid off of the whole joint. So Fred comes out, he starts, talking again, and he's got plans, and he wants to keep going with the Rainbow Coalition. The Rainbow Coalition was founded by Fred Hampton when he unified the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, the Young Patriots, and the Crowns. Not Jesse Jackson. Not Jesse Millie Vanilli Jackson.
Yeah,
I said what I
stole it. I don't know if he stole it. But
I don't know. We see that all the time. And we really do. We'll see someone maybe with, not as much of a following that has amazing ideas, and then someone else just come up with the same idea. Ooh. Right? With the bigger following. That's always great.
Don't talk to them. Don't hurt them.
Let's talk about ethics and unifying, ladies and gents. So anyway, you have that. You have Fred now. He's still talking. He still wants to make sure that his people are safe, that the clinic is built, that they are pushing the envelope. And what the electrifying speech that attracted Deborah to him is now scaring the hell out of her.
Yeah.
She now loves this man. She now is carrying their child.
Well, that's the thing. She wants him to be different for the child.
I absolutely will say that the way that they were able to develop and allow space for each of these characters, again, I don't want to say characters because they were real people, but for each of these roles was amazing. Because you felt Deborah's angst. And you also knew Fred's urgency. Fred wanted a clinic. You know, it is still extremely dangerous to give birth in these United States as a black woman. Maternal mortality rates are much higher than our Anglo counterparts. The medical field, if we are not seen by a doctor of color, odds are we are being misdiagnosed or dismissed. And that happens across socioeconomic lines. So they have that moment. Now at this point, they find out that Fred's going back to jail. Right?
Yeah.
O'Neill's like, whew, whew, good, I'm done. Right? Roy's like calling J. Edgar with a cigar in his mouth. And J. Edgar goes,
jail ain't where we want him at.
That's not where we want him. You need to kill him.
No, because he said, did you see what happened after we jailed Martin Luther King?
Did you see what happened after we jailed Huey P. Newton?
Yeah.
We cannot allow him to grow. Now, by this point, J. Edgar Hoover is a full-on, old-ass adult. And he is making these inflammatory remarks about a child. Sick, deplorable. I mean, damn ethics. Just how do you sleep at night, right? Where's your moral compass? So Roy then now puts the pressure on Bill. Bill's like, what am I supposed to do? He said, I need the blueprint to where he sleeps. I need the blueprint to that apartment. And Bill says no. And I think he threatens him with going back to jail, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he says, he threatens him with, what if they find out that you're a rat?
Yeah. What if they find out you're a rat? Do you want what happened to your guy up in New Haven
to happen to you?
As he said, remember New Haven?
Yes. So, again, this is a bystander versus an upstander. And, not everyone has the hero gene. So this guy was spineless and he wanted to save his behind.
Yeah.
So he draws out the map. He then is at a bar. He's sitting at a bar and a guy approaches him and basically says, you need to read this article. So the newspaper clipping was about the Nigerian airline going down. So I thought that was interesting. But there was a vial with poison. Like really on some espionage stuff. And Bill says, no, I'm not going to take it. And he said, you have to. And kind of like threatened him again. And he said, well, how do you know me? Because at this point he's paranoid, thinking everybody probably thinks he's a rat. He gives him his fake badge. And he says, I know Roy. Right? He goes to the house. He's talking to Fred. The leader of the Crowns hands Fred money and says, run. There's no shame in running. You can go to Algeria. You can go to Cuba. And they start talking about it. And Deborah's like, I'm 38 weeks pregnant. I don't, where am I going to go? They said you could get to Cuba in 28, within 24 hours. At that point, Bill chooses to put that in his drink. Right? We don't know exactly what it is, but we know it completely disables Fred Hampton when he goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Bill leaves. The cops come in 4 a.m. Riddle the place with bullets.
99 bullets to The Black Panthers won.
And it was one bullet that was fired after the Panther was shot in the chest.
Yeah, because the bullet went straight up.
Yes. Deborah is on top of Fred, and she's trying to wake him up. And she sees that his eyes are open. He's coming in and out, but he can't do anything. That's because of the drug.
Mm-hmm.
Fred was murdered. Deborah was had a gun placed to her stomach. She was treated like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely the lies that they used afterwards. Oh, we announced ourselves. Very, very reminiscent of Breonna Taylor. It's a must watch.
It is.
It's a must watch.
I give it 4.5. 4.5 out of 5.
For me, it is absolutely 4 tire tracks. It was an amazing piece. I think the actors were amazing. I think anyone could bring a human touch to Bill O'Neill after Bill O'Neill did what he did. But you know, something.
I ain't got no. Nah.
At the point that he was 17, I absolutely did.
Nope.
He was a child. There was nobody there to help him make the decision. Now, he did an interview on Eyes on the Prize, which was a PBS series. And he filmed during the day. And he committed suicide that night.
Which
and
tells you.
He was 40 years old. So he carried that for some 20 years.
Nah, I ain't trying to hear that. He was a coward.
He was a coward.
Okay, so that's what happened. As a grown man, he was still a coward. So I don't want to hear about him being a kid. I get it, but I don't want to hear about it. He was a coward, and he died a coward at 40-something years old.
This is what I'm going to say. This is what I was going to say. The reason why I'm saying all of this is to say that I still think that on his agreeing to die, kill himself, he still had some level of respect or esteem for Roy, the FBI agent. I think that they threatened him a whole hell of a lot worse than we will ever know. I think just as quickly as J. Edgar Hoover asked Roy about his 8-month-old daughter, I think that Roy ran down that child's entire family and said, what if I go kill them? You know I can do it. And so anyway.
You know what? Moral of the story is, don't do nothing to get yourself in that predicament.
Absolutely. Right? You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Exactly.
And we all lose. Guys, please comment down below. Let us know what you thought about this. Let us know if you knew any of this before the movie. I think this is a great opportunity to spread the awareness. I hope that Google searches go up and that people really do learn more about their history and how it's repeating themselves.
That's right.
Overall, guys, this is a must watch.
Allies, check it out.
Absolutely. And you know what? As Chairman Fred Hampton would say, where there are people, there is power. Stay strong, guys. And until the next time.
Keep tripping.
Bye, guys.